All right, joining us now on Drive the Lane, and you know it's the season debut because of the guest. Tyvis Powell makes his return. Welcome back.
You know what? I am very honored again. I don't take this for granted. Me being the first guest every season, it means a lot to me. If I ever win an award, I will be sure to thank you guys first. Before I thank my mother, before I thank my wife, I'm going to say shout out to Drive the Lane podcast.
Well, the reverse is true also because there is no story of Drive the Lane without Tyvis Powell. We're very, very, very intertwined, whether it's because you've been on the show 19 times or because we start every season with you, or that we maybe gave you we doubled down on the bug to get you into everything that you're doing, which we'll talk about obviously, but it's always a pleasure. Obviously, you know that.
And I appreciate that, man. It's a good time. It's not formal. It's all just us having fun and talking ball, all sports. It's just a good time, man. I always enjoy it. And I can't wait till you guys, blow up. When you probably won't even need me anymore. Y'all will have all the big names in the world.
That's right. That's
just forget
exactly
about
right.
Little old me. Yeah, I know.
That's exactly right. Can't wait.
It'll happen one day, but we'll still start the season with you every year because the root of this is Ohio State. And obviously Joey and I are already ready for basketball season, but we do gotta, talk some football before we get to basketball season. Tyvis, what's the vibe? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? What's this team gonna be?
Man, the vibe is not all that great offensively. I mean, we're still sitting here waiting on who the starter is going to be at quarterback. And, that's kind of a big deal because, you want a guy who's that means that nobody's separating themselves. And one wise coach once said that if you having a quarterback battle, then you don't have a quarterback, and I started thinking about that. Like, man, I would have thought Kyle McCord, this being his third year in the program, he's been sitting behind CJ. He's had some time in there where he got his own start in the Akron game. And he's got the organic chemistry with Marvin Harrison, the best player on the team. Like, you would have thought that he would have just separated himself and they would have just given it to him. But I guess Devin Brown is really doing his thing and really pushing the envelope for why he should be the starter. So much so that Ryan Day even took a vote as a coaching staff. And it was 50-50. They back 50-50. So it's just like, man. And then on top of that, obviously, they still got the offensive line who they haven't named the exact starting five yet. But I think that they have had more progress on that than on the quarterback. And here's my special guest has decided to make her
podcasting debut.
Oh my God.
Tyvis, I have a couple questions based on what you just said. First off, do you believe everything that Ryan Day is saying? It's 50, the coaching staff is split 50-50 and we just can't decide, or is that all just like, hey, you want the quarterbacks to continue competing, you don't want one of them to feel any type of way? What do you believe?
And that's what I think. At first I said, you know what, the transfer portal is real, and you don't want to ruffle no feathers. And the longer that this thing goes makes me believe that it might be Devin Brown. And the reason I say that is because if it was Kyle McCord, that's fine. You still got Devin Brown who can sit, and he can just, obviously Kyle McCord had to sit for 3 years. Then Devin Brown would just follow suit. But it's like, now I feel like if he names them, the other one's gonna hit the transfer portal and you're gonna lose him anyway. And if they are neck and neck like they say, then you might as well go with the younger guy because you'll have him for more years, So I don't know. I think that I still believe that if the offensive line isn't solidified as it's supposed to be, that could muddy up the reads for quarterbacks. I mean, if you go in there in the practice and your offensive line is getting destroyed, like, the quarterback can't go through his progressions if he's getting sacked. Like, it's just hard to tell who the quarterback will be. So I think that that's not fair to say that. But He got to name somebody. I know they're gonna end up going into the season because the team up north did it last year with JJ McCarthy and K McNamara, and JJ McCarthy ended up becoming the starter. If that's what you got to do, I mean, obviously your schedule is suited to be able to do such a thing, but I think that you have to name somebody like soon because it's messing up the chemistry with the rest of the team.
So that's what my second question was going to be. If you're a player on the team, whether you're on offense or defense, are you like, we don't care, like it is what it is? Or is it like, we would love this circus and this is all this to be done? Like just get it over with.
You did
so
it.
Joey,
you did
that
it.
was all I had to say. In 2015, right. There's
no better person to ask.
Yeah, I went through this in 2015, and as a defensive player, we didn't care. We don't, on the defensive side, we don't care. And they can't care because all people talk about with the defense is the last 2 games of the season, how they just gave up all this coverage. So in their mind, the only thing that they're focused on is becoming a really good defense. So they can't be concerned about
the quarterback. Doesn't matter if they're great.
Exactly. No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is because they have their own agenda anyways. Right. Like they can't be focused on who the quarterback is. They got other things to think about. But as far as the offense goes, I think it does matter because you need to know who is the guy that is the leader on offense. Who's the guy that we supposed to look to when it comes to wide receiver running routes? All right, I need to have chemistry with this guy because this is the guy that's going to be throwing to me, or offensive line play. This is the guy that has to take the checks and we need to hear his voice. We need to understand that he's going to get the call in. We need to know whose voice, how he relays the call to the huddle. Like it's all those little things. And it's crazy that they pretty much going into the season got to be prepared for both of them. And I think that's a lot. Like that's a lot on your plate. Like I got great chemistry with Devin Brown, but now I got to have chemistry with Kyle McCord as well because I don't know who's going to be throwing to me. Like I think that's where it's starting to take a toll.
Can I ask one more question, Andrew? I'm just so curious about this specific topic.
You have permission.
Do the players know? Like, do they know, like, whether they know or they don't know? They're like, I would be very surprised. Like, if I asked Marvin Harrison right now, do you think he would say, I'd be very surprised if Devin Brown is named the starting quarterback or vice versa? Do you think they have an inkling on, because they know football, they know what Ryan Day wants. Like, do they know?
I think that they have a better handle on who they would like because, okay. I mean, if you take it back to 2015 when we was going through it, the wide receivers had their own opinion about who they wanted as a quarterback and who they thought who was better suited for the offense. And I think that's another thing. You come into this season, Brian Hartline is supposed to be the play caller this year. What is he trying to accomplish? What plays is he running? So back in 2015 when we did it, they had Cardell as the quarterback, but they call in quarterback runs. And it's like, that's not what Cardell does. Cardell is a stand in the pocket, deliver the ball. If you wanted to run a quarterback, put JT in. So I think for them, you got to look at the game plan. What are we trying to accomplish? Because if you're trying to run the ball or you're trying to have a running quarterback, obviously Devin Brown is the guy for that. Even though Kyle McCord can run the ball a little bit, Devin Brown is, quote unquote, the more athletic guy. So I think as an offense, you have to look at it and say, what are we trying to accomplish this season? Are we trying to be a team where we're going to sling the ball like we used to? Or are we going to be heavy on the run side? Because if we're going to be heavy on the run side, now we need a quarterback that got some mobility because now he can pull those read options out and take off with it and pick up yards that way. So I think it's really up to Brian Hartline to say what type of offense he's trying to run.
So I don't know 100% obviously which coaches had a vote. But maybe I'm overthinking this.
That's so funny to me too.
Or oversimplifying this, but like I would go up to Egbuka and Marvin Harrison and be like, who do you want to be the quarterback? You've been in camp all summer. Like, who cares what the cornerbacks coach votes? Shouldn't it be, hey, you're Marvin Harrison, you're like the best player maybe ever, the best wide receiver ever
to ever touch a football.
Who do you want to be your quarterback for your final college season? Is it why isn't it just that simple?
It's not that simple because there's much more that comes with it. I mean, maybe that, okay, let's say that Kyle McCord let's say Marvin Harrison wants Kyle McCord. But maybe Ryan Day says that he maybe can't handle the playbook. Maybe he can't go through his reads correctly. So, yeah, Marvin Harrison might be in practice eating because they got that chemistry. But what happens when Marvin Harrison isn't the read? What happens when the defensive coordinator puts the game plan together that stops Marvin Harrison from getting the ball? Is he able to look at Marvin Harrison and say, oh, that's not where he's not available. Let me go to my next read. Okay, that's not available. Let me take the check down. Like maybe he can't do those things. Maybe he can't even identify coverage. Maybe he's like out there and it's like it looks like cover 2, but he's throwing what should be a cover 3 ball. Like it's a lot of things that go into quarterbacking that I think you got to think about that as well. So it can't just go off of who the wide receivers want because there's much more to it. Again, it's just throwing the ball. It's making the right checks, calling audibles, making sure everybody's on the right page. A lot of people can't handle these things.
Well, final question in this, theme right here. Are we overrating this wide receiver group, or are they going to be as good as advertised? Because I'm a little surprised that, Egbuka is rated as the second best receiver in the country on some sites and in some places. That surprises me a little bit. He was great last year, and Joey, I don't know if you feel differently. I feel like we weren't thinking this was the number 1 and number 2 receivers in the country. I think, they can be, but is it a little overrated? Did we lose you?
He's so versatile, Andrew. Inside to outside, carrying babies.
Y'all can't hear me?
Now we can.
Now we can.
I'm about to say, I'm sitting here looking right at you. No, I don't think he's over. I don't think that the room is overrated. I mean, Marvin Harrison is by far the best receiver in the country. And Emeka Egbuka had a really good season, but nobody talks about it because how good of Marvin Harrison was. But Emeka Egbuka had really good numbers. I think he had over 1,000 yards. So I think he is a guy that, is going to take that next step. I mean, if you've been watching any of the highlights from practice, I mean, the man's been out there one-handed, jumping over people. So I'm actually expecting him to have a really good season. And it's going to be kind of easy because everybody's game plan is going to be stop Marvin Harrison Jr., which means that Emeka should be eating this season. So I don't necessarily think that, no, they're not overrated. I think they are where they're supposed to be.
Have you had a chance to not only go to practice, but to talk to some of the coaches and guys and get a sense for some of the other positive stuff that's coming out of camp? I know you mentioned obviously the wide receivers have been great, but we talked kind of negative's not the right word, but we weren't talking the most positive things about how we don't have a quarterback and the offensive line is and all this stuff. What other positives have come out of camp in the preseason for the team?
It's a lot. It's a couple of positives, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The defensive side of the ball, Jim Knowles has fixed his jack position. Jack Sawyer was a highly recruited guy, and last year he just disappeared. It's like, where is Jack Sawyer? He was lost in that jack position. And it's because he was standing up. It was a foreign position to him that he had in. And I think he's put his hand back on the ground. He's becoming more effective. So Jack Sawyer is the guy who we should be looking out for this year. That whole defensive line is locked, loaded, and ready to go this year. So they should definitely change the things on defense. Last year, our leading sacker was, I think it was Mike Hall with 4.5 sacks at defensive tackle.
All in one game.
Yeah, that can't fly ever again. We need back to double-digit sacks, and we need a plethora of guys to have a lot of sacks this year, especially the way Jim Knowles dials it up. I actually just listened to a press conference from Jim Knowles today, and I like the fact that he admitted to understanding that, he put his guys in bad positions last year. I always think about the Georgia game. We have 14 points, but you run and cover 0, which in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes left, that makes no sense. So he admits that he made some mistakes and he realized the pieces that he has, and he's starting to put players in different positions that's better suits them, a la Jack Sawyer putting his hand back in the ground. And then you got guys like Sonny Styles and CJ Hicks, who we got to see a glimpse of. He's found ways for them to get on the field because they are playmakers, and he can't not have playmakers on defense. So he's finding ways to get them on the field. I also believe that Davison Igbinosun, the transfer from Ole Miss, him coming in at corner was a really big thing because I think, Denzel Burke was the guy. Jordan Hancock is supposed to be the guy, but I think when Davidson Igmanosin came in there, he made them step their game up because nothing's given no more. He's coming here to play. He's not coming here to just sit. He's coming here to play. And I think what it did was it rose the play of Denzel Burke and Jordan Hancock. So now they got a 3-man rotation, and now they're talking about at the nickel spot, because, you know, Jim knows like to run 3 safeties. Maybe on them nickel spots, they put in a true corner type to play those slot guys. Instead of having a safety trying to play him, he got a corner like Jordan Hancock sliding down in there to be able to, you know, handle those slot and shifty receivers, which I think is really great because I don't think a safety on a shifty wide receiver is a great matchup at all.
I have a crazy opinion about this season, and I want to hear what you have to say. And you're the perfect guy to say this too. Okay.
Let's hear it.
So fast forward a year or a year and a half. Okay. The national champion, if they come from the Big Ten, they're going to beat Michigan, Wisconsin, Oregon, UCLA, USC. I feel like this might be the worst year to win the national championship. Oh, you beat Indiana and Minnesota. Oh, you beat a bad Maryland team. Like, wouldn't this be the year to not win and just get ready and gear up for the gauntlet that's going to come in the next few years?
That's a great question, Andrew. Great question.
No, it's not a great question at all because you played to win. That's first of all. And secondly, this is the last year of the CFP having 4. So after this year, I'm not going to say it's watered down, but it is kind of watered down because it's like it's 12 teams now. If you make it into the CFP, that means you were one of 4 of the best teams to be in there. And it's much tougher to make that top 4 seed. So I think for them, I think that you definitely want to go out. I mean, you went out, you started it off winning the first. You might as well go out winning the last of the 4, which I think is be a really good thing for the program. And I think the teams is still pretty stacked. You know, if you think about the team up north and Alabama and Florida State, LSU and Georgia, whoever it may be, you still got to go up against those 4 to whereas in the other one, when it gets to 12, you might duck and dodge them. You might be able to dodge that team and not have to play that really good team. So I think it still holds a ton of weight. If anything, I think that this one is still the hardest to do, whether to win it gets to 12.
The schedule, if you win in 2027, if you win the national championship from the Big Ten, you're going to have the craziest schedule that year of games that you won. I mean, I was naming those crazy.
Assuming you play everybody, we don't know how that's going to work.
I'm saying you play 1 or 2 of those teams, and then you get to the 12-team playoff, and you have 3 more random games. All of a sudden, you're playing ACC opponents, Big 12 opponents. It could get wild. Tyvis, my question to you is, of all these new teams, all these potential new opportunities, where would you have wanted to play? You know, where you didn't get to play.
The Rose Bowl. I would have loved to have gone to UCLA. I didn't get a chance to go to the Rose Bowl, but I hear it's very historic, especially to the Buckeye Nation. So I would have loved to have played there. I got a chance to play at USC when I was in the league because I played for Seattle. And this is before SoFi came. The Rams was playing at USC. So I got to do that. But to play in a historic landmark like the Rose Bowl, man, I would have loved to have done that. So I'm jealous over that one.
What are your overall? I was talking to your guy Alex Birchie about it the other day, Tyvis. About expansion and about the Big Ten and the overarching theme, which we probably would have already talked about this before we're talking to you in this episode. But the overarching theme is like you either adapt or you die, and the Big Ten is adapting. So we love that. What are your thoughts? Obviously, we're so lucky being Ohio State fans, and our school is not. We're not worried about leaving or our rivalries or anything. But in general, what are your thoughts about what's kind of transpired the last few months, year or so with the Big Ten?
Well, you know, a lot of people hate it. I'm not like that. I look at it like it's a positive. I see more positives than negatives. You know, the only negative thing that I see out of these teams, you know, expanding is that their families won't be able to come to some of these games. You know, like if you're a USC player, it's almost impossible for your family to come to Ohio State on a weekend and then stay and play Indiana or something like that. So I think that's the only downfall. But outside of that, these kids want to go to the NFL. They want to play in games. Like when I played for Seattle, we had so many East Coast trips. Now you had to mentally be prepared for that. You had to have a routine. You had to get your body right to be able to play in those games. I think it's nice that these kids is getting exposed to that in college. Then on top of that, all NFL scouts want to see is how you do against better competition, not what you do against Maryland or Rutgers or something like that. No, they want to see the USC. They want to see Washington. They want to see Oregon. They want to see these games. Yeah, they want to see these.
That was mean.
Tyvis.
Sorry.
Keep going.
I
Keep
didn't
going.
mean to,
Sorry.
I didn't mean to stop you, Rand. That was just like my subconscious speaking.
But it's the truth. They want to see you. They want to
wrong.
see you against these competitive teams. So now you're getting more game film. That NFL scouts are actually want to see. You're going to get more reps. And then on top of that, from a fan's perspective, we're seeing better matchups on TV. Don't nobody want to see. Never mind. Let me not go down that road again. But you know what I'm saying.
Wait, Tyvis, you're making me think of something. When you were in school, who were the teams that you guys laughed and joked about?
Oh, Indiana, Purdue, Rutgers, Illinois.
Every team not named Michigan.
I'm about to say pretty much every team but the team up north, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Penn State, and Iowa. That was about it. That was outside of that,
That's so funny.
Tyvis, we see that you're on dad duty, so we will wrap this up shortly. Not yet, shortly.
Oh, she's fine. She's making her appearance. She wants her voice to be heard.
She needs her 15 minutes of fame. She's got this.
And you obviously need your voice to be heard because we hear it everywhere. You got to tell us, what are you doing right now? What is this season looking like for you?
Okay. So, all right. So, obviously, I'm still doing the 1870 Society. That's the collective at Ohio State. That is like my number one priority. Making sure that these players are getting the NIL deals they deserve, making sure that they uphold their ends of the deals, stuff like that. That's I get a thrill out of doing that. I'm still doing the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show once the season starts. I'll do it Tuesdays and Wednesdays now. So shout out to me getting another day. Woohoo. After that, I still do the 97.1 The Fan. Probably do the Buckeye Show 6 to 8. Make sure you tune in, Columbus Radio. After that, I got the Big Ten Network, the Big Ten Tailgate Show on Saturday.
There we go. Get to the fun stuff.
I'll fly out on Fridays.
Yo, you got to wear a black shirt this year. You were sweating last year. We could see it. You got to wear a darker shirt.
He's going to wear what he's given. He's going to wear what
I will keep that. No. Saturdays, you got to keep it business casual. You're free to wear whatever, but you got to be business casual.
You don't wear like a BTN polo. You get to wear whatever.
I got to do that on the Friday hit sections. Hit section, I got to wear the BTN polo. Saturdays is business casual. So, I'm going to try to swag myself up a little bit. And then Sunday, I have the Browns pregame and postgame show. So, if you watch the Browns game and you feeling good or you feeling bad and you have any thoughts, comments, or concerns, please be sure to call in and we will answer your questions on if you make it past the screening. You can't be drunk. You can't be cursing because you won't make it past the screening. But if you're not drunk and you're not cursing and you can get your thought off and you can articulate your thought calmly, we will bring you on the Browns post-game show where Jeff Phelps and myself will love to answer your questions.
All right, Tyvis, before we let you go, and we're very excited to be able to see you wherever we want to every single day of the week. That's going to be really nice. Before we let you go, we know what the expectations are for Ohio State year in, year out, but what are your predictions for the Buckeyes this year?
Oh, man, I think the Buckeyes is going to have some really tough goings. I don't know how much they're going to roll teams this season because I just think it's a lot of concerns at the offensive line, and that's just big. But I think that from a talent standpoint, they'll win a ton of games. I do believe that their toughest challenges will be Penn State and the team up north. I don't think the Notre Dame game will be close. I think they'll win that. But the Penn State and the team up north game, it's going to be the biggest test, you know? And everybody don't nobody really even care about the first 11 games at all. They really just care about the last one. And I think that they have to find a way to win that game. And I think it'll probably be the toughest task they have since Ryan Day has been a head coach, is because they got to go up there. It's so much that's on the line, you know, with him hearing about him being on the hot seat and stuff like that, and just the legacy game. So I believe they have what it takes to get it done. I know that Jim Knowles is going to do what he's supposed to do on that defense, and that's going to get fixed. So at the worst, I see him going 11-1. At the worst.
If you had to put your entire NFL career earnings on them winning or not winning the Big Ten, what are you taking?
Well, it would be asinine for me to say that they're not going to win the Big Ten. Like, that's just, I'm not. What do I look like? I'm a homer. I'm a homer. Like, I'm not going to not say that they're not going to win the Big Ten. I just will say it's going to be very interesting. Let's just say that. It's going to be an interesting year.
Joey, we got to close it out how we always do, even though we told Tyvis we were done.
Yeah, Tyvis, we're kind of, I guess we're a little, hey, we're rusty. It's the preseason for the podcasters too, as much as it is the guests. But yeah, like we do every single episode, like you've done several times before. You probably wrote them down beforehand, which would have and is very smart of you. What questions do you have for us?
Oh, you don't have to go to the basketball world. You know, how was the Carmen crew? What happened that we didn't make it to the championship?
That's a question for Andrew.
They ran into a tough team, and you and Timmy Hall decided not to come out and watch. So that was the deciding factor.
Wow. No, that's not true. One, I had to work. We had to work that night, and I told you if they won that game, I would be at the next one. I literally said that I would literally be at the next one, and then it just didn't happen. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. Joey, my question for you, since
sure.
let's go to your expertise of basketball.
Yeah,
is LeBron James Jr. going to play basketball ever again?
It sure seems like he is.
I know, right? He was just with the Drake concert and everything.
Yeah. I saw on Twitter, like, I guess him and Sharif O'Neal are super close, and Sharif said in some interview that he thinks that Bronny's, I wouldn't even call it like an injury, but heart issue, whatever you want to call it, injury, is not only is it not life-threatening and he's fine, but it also isn't going to affect anything about his basketball career. So, like, he's going to play this year, according to Sharif O'Neal.
Dr. Sharif O'Neal.
I'm about to say
I hope the kid is incredible and does great. It's wild stuff.
So who if you had to bet your whole life earnings on who has the better pro career?
It's a lot of money, Tyvis. Keep that in mind.
Bronny James Jr. or Dwayne Wade's son?
Bronny.
Wait. Yeah, I don't think Dwayne Wade's son's going to play in the NBA ever.
I mean, some people say that. Some people say that about Bronny's.
Bronny's going to get a shot. I can guarantee you that. He's going to get a shot.
His dad. Okay, what about Bronny or Bryce?
Ooh.
Everybody thinks Bryce is going to be unbelievable.
I swear.
And yeah, I mean, Bryce looks like he's going to be 6'9", freak athlete, shooter.
It's always the younger. It's always the younger brother.
It is. It really is. It really is. Tyvis, I almost was just like total troll job on this episode, but I didn't do it. I have my Steph Curry hat right here. I didn't wear it, and I'm wearing my Jalen Brunson shirt, which would have been even better. So I almost went total troll job on you. But
I should hang up on you right now.
Andrew, do you know that Tyvis?
You're about to. The episode's over.
Tyvis was hosting.
Andrew, shut up.
Tyvis was hosting the 97 on the Fan, and during hoop season, and they called me to come on for 10 minutes or whatever. And the first question he says is, "Joey, pick one person between me and Jalen Brunson. Who are you picking?" I was like, that's not fair. Also, he just gave your Cavs 35 and they won. So They're beating them in the playoff series. So I don't know.
Why you gotta rub it in though?
He's ending this great interview on such a sour note.
Well, I'm just making it so you want to be done, or else we would go forever.
Bye. Just say bye. Just tell me bye. That's all you have to do. Just tell me.
Tyvis, when can we come on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show?
No, Andrew can't.
Whenever you want to.
Bring me on.
They looking for guests.
I will happily come on and talk Browns and Buckeyes. Wait, Tyvis, I'll see you at week 1.
Wait, what do you mean?
I'm coming Browns Bengals.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I'll be. Oh, yeah. You gonna be in the same spot?
Yeah, we gotta do our halftime meetup.
Absolutely, I'll come down right before I leave the stadium. I'll come down.
All right, I love it, man. Tyvis, talk to you next year, first episode of the season.
All right, y'all take care. Go Bucks, man.
Go Bucks. We appreciate you as always.